Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I'm Sir Slice 13,
I'm Smerchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. Now, we've got a really fun episode to talk about because this is just nostalgia episode. This is going to be called nostalgia. If you're I don't know what we are anymore, elder millennial, or gen whatever, this, that, and the other. But if you're in your late 30s, this is going to be a really wonderful one to listen to because we're going to take you guys
We're
down
people,
a nice
Tim, with
walk.
thoughts and opinions.
I am Sir Slice. These are movies.
Movies are fun to watch. I am a normal human.
Hello, fellow kids. We're going to be talking about movies, childhood movies. Now, we had a nice long conversation about what classified a childhood movie. I grew up on all sorts of different movies, Die Hard and like Pulp Fiction and things like that I probably shouldn't be watching at the age of 9 or 10. Those don't really qualify as kids movies. So we're kind of keeping it more in like the PG. You can get away with PG-13 in some movies, like like a Ghostbusters or a Batman or something like that. Maybe Batman may be a little dark to be qualified as a kids movie, but hey, it is what it is. As you can tell by our wonderful background, all of us did enjoy those original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, so we'll be talking about some of those.
I think we all have a different favorite one too.
Well, yeah, we all. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think you and I agree about our favorite, but yeah, we'll get into it.
I think we all agree that 2 is the best, but maybe one has more impact on us for one reason or another.
Two is our favorite. I do think 1 is a stronger movie as a whole because the story and it hits a little bit more on the emotional notes of the turtles and their group and their brotherhood as a family, whereas like 2 is, yes, you go a little bit more into their history, but it's goofier and over the top. And like, I mean, fucking Kevin Nash is in the movie, so how serious can it be? You know what I mean? The most serious thing he's ever done is a Russian bodyguard in John Wick. You know what I mean? Like, that's about it. Or a Russian assassin in The Punisher, or Russian.
What about 3, Tim? You didn't talk about 3.
I know.
It's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So before we dive too far into those, no, let's fuck it. We're going into Turtles. We're going into Ninja Turtles. I'm wearing my Ninja Turtles t-shirt because I'm a diehard fan and I want everyone to know. I've told this story before, but I'm going to say it again. This was the first one was the first movie I ever saw, at least remember seeing, in a movie theater. It was in Florida on a vacation, and I got to see like the turtles' feet on the ground, like walking up.
So
the day before, the turtles were there, but I wasn't because we were on a plane. But I was like 6, and I loved it, and I had like the best time in the world. And from that moment on, it was Ninja Turtles for me. The cartoons, the action figures, the reboots, which are horrible, and I want to watch all of the cartoons because they all have merit. Once I grew up, I didn't watch the Ninja Turtles cartoons show because it kind of like they changed them all. Excuse me, I'm really burpy. It's this wonderful boba. But I got like I want to go back and watch them all, but I think I have to get like Paramount Plus to watch all those. But the Turtles movies were a feat in themselves, courtesy of Jim Henson Studios and the amazing puppeteers that they did, and I think that they hold up to this very day. There's nothing that beats some quality practical effects as opposed to 15-foot tall animated turtles. So I mean, there's something to be said about that you can still watch it. Still pulls at my heartstrings, when they take Splinter and then they show up at April's door and it's like Donatello or someone. Splinter. It's just so. But it's they're such good movies. I think Dan, what's your favorite? Your favorite is.
We're gonna start with me.
Is number.
All right,
we're going with the worst.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I can't. Okay, look, when we're kids, we like what we like. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter like how it happened
really matter.
or like why.
Honestly,
like,
it doesn't really matter when you're a kid.
I mean, like, if I'm being frank, I had shit taste as a kid. You know what I mean? But I mean, I was a kid. You know,
exactly.
Like
that's why we're talking about these movies.
Like, there's a lot of like. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at this list that we have. A lot of good movies. I feel like maybe we kind of like let. I have a few that I'll talk about later, but they're just. God, I must have made my poor parents, may shout out to them, watch probably way too many terrible movies over and over again. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 is top that list. Pretty terrible movie. I loved it as a kid. You know, my mom thought certain parts were funny. Honestly, I don't remember too much of it. What I do remember, I remember them holding on to a thing and they all are all of a sudden in ancient Japan. I think maybe I'm not really sure, but I just remember loving it, and I liked all the stuff that was happening. And my my favorite part of the movie as a kid was the Surf Ninjas trailer. Which I never even saw, but it was just like this, like, oh, this guy knows kung fu. This guy can control like people with his mind while he plays a video game. Blah. I was like the Quan Su dude. I was saying Quan Su dude to the most random people, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Surf Ninjas, no." And then when somebody had actually seen it, they're like talking to me about the movie. I'm like, "Oh, I haven't actually seen the movie, just the trailer. I love the trailer though." And there was like, "What? You haven't seen the movie?" I don't. That's.
Are you ever gonna go back and watch it, Dan?
I feel like I should now. I've talked about it so many times. I feel like I'm gonna go and watch it and be like, "Wow, this is dude." Me and Tim quote that movie endless. Like, "There's dynamite here. We'll throw it at him." And he doesn't like the dynamite. It's what is it? It's Rob
Schneider.
It's Rob Schneider. He doesn't like the dynamite. He just throws it at the guy that hits him in the head, and the car crashes, and he's like, "I got him." It's like just beyond goofy. I don't know. I feel like I had to see it now, but honestly, I'm not too keen to.
George, you have to do a movie night with Surf Ninjas if it's possible at all to do that.
Well, if we can find it, I can play it. It doesn't matter.
Oh my god, dude!
You can find where I can play it.
I don't think we can find it at all.
Yeah, online somewhere, YouTube or somewhere you can rent it from.
Probably. It's probably like, I bet you it's like free to watch on YouTube with ads. That's probably the kind of movie. If
it totally is.
I refuse to watch that movie with ads. It's bad enough without them. To be interrupted in the middle of it, I'm good. I loved it as a kid, don't get me wrong, and I will probably go back and watch it. And some of these movies that we're going to talk about are insanely cheesy. But George, what's your favorite? Is 2?
My favorite is 2. But I can talk about 1 too. But
talk about them all, man. I love them all.
So I will say like the like there's you know, I'm a super nerd, so I love like. I don't know if you guys have noticed from like all the podcasts we do, whenever we talk about film and television, things like that, I feel like I kind of look at it always from like slightly large, like an outside focus, not so much necessarily the movie itself, but like I think more about like themes and genres and things like that. That's just like the nerd of filmmaking and television making in me. That's what I enjoy about that. Yeah. Is the technical aspect and also some of the more behind the scenes and stuff like that. So and the history behind it is that when TMNT first came out, it was honestly revolutionary and ground shaking especially because it was a kids movie. And you talked about, you know, all the amazing like SFX and like the puppeteering and all that stuff. You can go to that. But really what was interesting about it is it was such a dark tone. You know, it was dark tone. Yep. If you talk about how the look of the screen, like the movie, and the palette, the color palette, and the cinematography, the way it's shot, all of it, it showed a nitty gritty New York City, a dark New York City. Do you know what I'm saying?
Gritty New York City.
Yeah, it was like a darker, gritty, and the theme of the movie, especially some of the like the things that was going on, these bad teenagers and like kids doing drugs and smoking and doing all these bad things and stealing.
Shout out to Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, all these dark things that these kids did.
What?
Oh, I forgot he was in that. I didn't even make that connection until now.
Shut the fuck up. That is insane. What a
all these bad kids are like, you know, and it's like obviously. Because so many kids went to see the first one, there was a shout, like a cry from like parents being like, oh, we don't want our kids watching like something like this because it's like way too, all these bad things. So of course, parents being the ones who hold the money in this world for kids to go see, they were like, all right, in our next one, we can't, like, it can't be this dark anymore. So they totally turned everything upside down, I feel, as far as like the tone of the movie, the palette of it. It's much more brighter and more Saturday cartoon look than it is in the first one. So why the first one, I think, was more impactful for a lot of people is because it was like a darker, nittier thing, and it was a kids movie, but kids, I think, at the time hadn't been exposed to something quite like that. And maybe Batman, you could say Batman, the first Batman, is like that too, has that same kind of dark, tone. And then it's like Splinter got kidnapped and he's like fucking, he's like chained up, and like there's like some if you look back, there's some kind of like dark things about that movie, like they destroy April's house, like all this stuff, it burns down, like all of it is rather dark. Casey Jones, who's kind of a dark character as well. But then the second movie,
gonna like die or something like that.
Yeah, what I really like about, and then it becomes much more. The tone changes in the second one. And I think what ends up making the second one my personal favorite is because the second one had a tone that was more closer to what I was watching in the cartoons.
Yeah.
To me, that was more like realistic and it stuck to the main source material. And that's ever since that kind of that movie, I feel like that was the beginning of my like nerdum of like, oh, I kind of like enjoy movies that stick to the source material, like being one of those people, like, but that's not what it was like in the comic books, or that's not what it was like in the cartoons. Like, I think that kind of started my love for it, because the second one I think was really fan service for the kids who watched the Saturday cartoons. It was just goofy beyond goofy. Rap in it. It's got ninja rap in it. It's goofy beyond goofy. And a lot of Ninja Turtles cartoons, when you go back, we're goofy as hell. Like,
yeah.
So okay, that's it. That's all. No, that's all. Tim, I'll leave it to the expert.
The little George mentioned it last time. I think it was afterwards, so it wasn't on the cast. But that scene in the opener where they're like fighting in like what is that? Like a pawn shop? I don't fucking even know what that place is. It's
like a little strip mall or a mini mall.
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
like a weird little whatever. But Leonardo or Donatello's pretending to be. He sees like a little clown, and it's like one of those like Weeble wobbles. The Weebles wobble, but they won't fall down. And so you see him like push it. Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
And then he's standing there, and they push him, and his arm comes up, and then he's got starts hitting him with the like that fight scene. It's just it's fun. It's like a Jackie Chan fight scene. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's really well done.
Goofy.
Yeah, I love that movie. That is my favorite of the three, as well. Although I will go, I've watched the first one recently more than I've watched the second one, because it's like I almost overwatched the second one. You love something so much you watch it, and then you don't watch it for like 10 years, and then you watch it again and again and again. Okay, I want to bring up a movie, and then I will leave it to the rest of you guys for these. But there was a movie of my childhood that's not the best movie, and I haven't seen it that many times, but it impacted my childhood more than any other movie on this list, other than maybe Ninja Turtles. And it was Dennis the Menace. And the reason that this impacted my childhood so much is because it was parts of the film, a big chunk of the film, were filmed on my block. They used my house and my neighbor's house for like lighting and stuff like that. So we got paid to have like lights in the upstairs and put on there. I got a chance to meet the great Christopher Lloyd. While he was in his hobo makeup, he scared the living bejesus out of my sister, which was absolutely amazing. I don't know if she's gonna remember that. We were young, but we will remember when we
amazing
when we there's a scene when Dennis goes missing, and the whole town is looking for him, and they do this wide panning shot, and that's my block that's on there. You can can't really see my house too much, but you can see like, oh, that's a tree in front of my house. I recognize that. But like they sent out letters, they talked to all the kids in the neighborhood, and they were like, listen, we're gonna be filming this night, and it's gonna be a night shot. and there's going to be extras everywhere. Please do not leave your house. Do not shout. Do not make noises that are going to get in the way. I, as these two know, had a really big screened-in front porch with a pony wall. So the first like 3 feet of my porch is a wall and then screens. So what we did is a few of we had other people over, family friends that didn't live nearby, and we were hanging out on the at my house, and all the kids like crawled out onto the porch, and we're like laying by the door, and like as soon as you hear them yell action, there's like 6 extra kids on this porch going, Dennis, Dennis, where are you? So now I get to claim that I was in the Dennis the Menace movie,
Uncredited.
even
Awesome.
uncredited, even though I was 100% not. But like the pink house that I can't even remember her name, the girl lives in, was like kitty corner from where I lived, and like the alleyway was across the street. Like it was a really cool experience to see how this like movies were made and like filmed, and it wasn't just like, you got the action and then you got the cut and it's like, okay, now let's redo it and reset it. I'm like, wait a minute, they just did it, why do they got to do it again? And so like it was really cool experience for me as a kid to see, and I think that spurred a lot of love for film for me, even though obviously it's Dennis the Menace. But I mean, the legendary Walter Matthau was in that movie. I didn't get to see him necessarily, but his performance, again, nothing he can do is bad. I don't care what you say, he's amazing. One of my favorite comedic actors, or he's done some serious stuff too, which is great. But that movie really did kind of shape how I saw movies, and why, like George, I do enjoy as well looking at some of the more technical aspects of things, and being like, oh, like some movies, like we were talking about last week before, Blade Runner 2049. Like, it's not for everybody. Cinematically, like, it's a gorgeous fucking movie. It looks cool. The shots, the cinematography is amazing, and like, oh, it's cool. So things like that is where I started to kind of appreciate a lot more of that. I don't know if anybody else has much to say about it. That movie was ridiculous and fun. For a kid, I was like, oh, fine, whatever. But the
thing
movie
is,
itself.
this is going to be hard because I'm so used to talking about like kind of a lot of the thematic aspects or the performances or story arcs. I haven't seen these movies for a long time, and so I don't have much in the way of any of those. All I have is like, oh, I remember. It's like Chris Farley like interviewing people, like, remember the time when
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Like, right now, like what I remember from that movie, I mean, I remember him being kidnapped and Christopher Lloyd eating all the beans, but what I mainly remember is the flower that bloomed for like 60
Yep.
seconds.
Yep.
I found out that was a real thing, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And like, I remember like being like, fucking Dennis.
Now if you watch it, be like, someone control that kid.
Like, no, even as a kid, I was like, fucking Dennis, man, you like deprived Walter Matthau for 30 seconds of splendor, as he called it. That's what I don't know, that's what sticks out. Remember that? Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Let's move on from Dennis the Menace.
Okay, there's so
George.
there's so many on this list.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's stick to the highlighted ones. George, what do you got?
I'm gonna. I mean, I'll put it right out there. I'll put out all three, dude. All three.
Wait. Before you do that, we have a massive list of things that we're looking at. We're not going to go over all of them. I will list off a bunch of these movies at the end. So if anybody's like wondering, what list is this? I'll rattle them off, and I'll see if I can post them in the comments so you guys can go watch our childhood. Go on, George.
All right, I'll just throw out a big one out there. All three Mighty Ducks, dude. Like, what is it about? Like, Mighty Ducks is like maybe one of the best and underrated, like, because it's a kids franchise, it's a Disney kids franchise. But Mighty Ducks is probably up there in one of the greatest sports like movies up there. Like, there is something about cheering for the underdog that you learn from that movie, and you forever will always be cheering for the underdog after that. Like, it's always about how these guys are like, they're the constant underdogs. Everywhere they go, they're underestimated, and somehow they end up winning, the crowd over eventually. And they always come back, and they always, overcome together as a team, and my favorite one actually is the second one. A lot of people probably like the first one. I kind of like the second one the best.
I agree with George on that one.
I like the second one best because, yeah, the first thing is like Gordon, like if you think about it, it's kind of crazy that it's a kids movie. Gordon Bombay, this guy got sentenced to community service for drinking and driving. Okay,
Yeah.
You got sentenced to community service teaching people,
Everyone
like
forgets
coaching
about
Pee Wee
that.
hockey for drinking and driving. Like, I don't know if how realistic that is to
Wes
begin with.
Mount is like,
Plus, he's an asshole.
Plus, he's like
yeah.
a total asshole in that first one.
asshole.
But it's just
If I was-
hilarious. That
if I
first
was a
one.
parent, I would not want to drop my kid off with a guy that's doing community service from drinking
Exactly.
and driving. Like who? What mom was like, yeah, you'll be fine. Get him on.
Exactly.
Go hang out with that
Exactly.
drunk guy.
You know,
It's ridiculous.
exactly. And Julie the cat.
Kind-
And then the
kind
second
of
one
like-
had Julie the cat. Yes.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
second
You know,
one was great, was because, and then Gordon, like, you know, he obviously warmed up to the kids, and then he became a better person or whatever. But the second one, what's interesting is Gordon's story arc is that he has like a slight downfall. He like gets kind of big on himself, and like the Gordon of old, the slick lawyer, kind of shows up and is like, you know, is that starting to rear. And it's interesting to see how his old life started bleeding once he had success again, and that taste of success again, how it like changed him, you know. And it brought him back away from the sports, because when he was playing hockey as an amateur, I think that was him like finally fulfilling his dream as a kid, and like the joy and enjoying the sport, and then not being able to do that, and then finding success in this other avenue. Unfortunately, the success that he had was, sure, it was a passion for coaching, but it you know, it kind of led to the pitfalls and downfalls of the success that he was in, you know, this, you know, it brought back kind of like the asshole part of him that was in the first movie at the very beginning. So I think that was just like a very interesting story arc. And of course there's redemption and all that. And there's just so many great one-liners from that movie. I from all the movies, all three movies, you know, the third one was great.
Yeah.
The third story movie, I kind of have a soft spot for it, because the third movie is about Charlie, like, who in many ways Charlie was the heart and soul of the whole entire franchise, you know, since the beginning. So the third movie was about Charlie, and it was Charlie's story and his, like, and it was really, you know, many would say it was kind of Joshua Jackson's like debut as a leading like actor.
Joey, isn't that
yeah,
who it is?
No, Pacey. He plays Pacey in Dawson's Creek,
Pacey.
right? So, and a shout out to that franchise, which is a huge teen franchise, and I love teen series.
Dawson's
there's
Creek,
even a
I will
scene
not
where he
shout out
talks
Dawson's
about that
Creek.
in one of in the show.
I was so upset that Gordon Bombay was not the coach in the third one. I barely gave that movie a chance. The only thing that brought it around for me was the return of Dean Portman at halftime for the Bash Brothers to reunite.
Yeah.
You watched
like,
that in theaters. The theater cheered when Dean Portman came back.
It's awesome.
I like the third one. You know, it's
It
not
probably was fine, but
it's not a bad movie. It's good because like it's redefining like team. You know, like you're rebuilding a team with loss. You know what I mean? You lose your coach, one of your most beloved people, and they're trying to like come together again. You know, it's the same old story, but it was good. It was fine. You know, and it's like, wasn't it the Olympics or something like that? Junior
The
Olympics?
second one was the Junior Olympics.
Second one was the Junior
Third
Olympics.
one
and
was
they
the
went up
one
against
where they
Iceland.
got put into that private school.
Question.
Which
Yes,
was the private school
excuse me.
that Gordon went to.
Didn't, and I could be mixing up a different movie, and I very well could be, but wasn't there like between 1 and 2, didn't Gordon try out for the NHL again, or try to play hockey
He did
one
play.
more
He
time?
played it. That's what
And then-
happened. He played amateur
but then he
hockey.
like, yeah, and then he stopped again for whatever
He got
reason.
hurt.
That's what happened in between.
because the coach injured him, and then he
I
had
thought that was.
No, that was between 1 and 2. Because the coach of Iceland. Oh, maybe it wasn't. Was it the same guy?
I thought that was
Oh,
pre
no.
one.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think so. I think he was just hurt by some dude between 1 and 2. He was trying to play again, and then got hurt.
It was an unrelated dude from a different amateur team.
And then
Okay.
during that like grudge match they had where they played 1-on-1,
The Iceland guy hit him in the same spot.
Yeah, like with his stick.
Yeah, he got hurt in his knee
because he was about to win.
Yeah, when he was playing in amateur leagues, he got checked really badly and crushed against the glass.
Isn't that
And
what
then
they called him or something?
The dentist, yes, the
Yeah,
dentist.
that's such a weird.
Yes, the Iceland
moniker.
coach.
It's like he knock out the teeth and all that crap.
The dentist,
sure,
yeah.
whatever.
And then the ice figure skater guy is like, that guy's a dentist?
That's what I love about the second one. It's not just these one-liners. You bring in a whole nother cast of characters. Dan, you're out of focus.
Oh,
There you
there,
go.
he's back. That guy the dentist?
You bring in like 6 new characters
Yeah.
that fit so well with this cast.
Yeah,
Like, it
with the
really
cast
did.
that's already existing too,
There's-
which is what's so amazing about it.
We talked about this a little bit in our Avatar podcast. If you get a chance, go back and watch it. It's a wonderful, wonderful episode. Goes on very long though. But like to have a show or a movie bring in an extra character or something in the second outing of it and have it work is very rare. Like it's not something that's going to work all the time. And I think they did it well. I mean, granted, we're talking about a kids movie here. This thing wasn't nominated for shit. Don't get me wrong. But like it worked. All these new characters, Julie the cat, and you know, you brought in Kenan Thompson, you know, which
Knuckle
was,
puck time.
Knuckle puck. Who did not try the I mean, every kid tried the knuckle puck.
I've
Every
tried
kid.
it so many times. It's so much fun.
They always told you,
Um,
do not do that at school, and you still did it.
Yeah, all the time. But it was
love that.
wonderful. I love those movies.
It's
And for the
interesting.
longest, I could find the first and the third one, but the second one wasn't streaming for a very, very long time. But
It's
I
all
think
on
now
Disney
it's
now.
Disney
And there's
now,
a
so
TV
it's
series
good.
now on Disney.
Which I'll check out at some point.
Yeah.
I have
Come on,
actually
shut
a pretty good segue. If you're all down.
Carry
with it.
on.
Let's go.
Carry on.
Because so Julie the cat Gaffney.
You remembered her
in-
last name. That's hilarious.
I just remember saying that whole thing. She is in this movie. In this movie I'm going to talk about next, she plays the girlfriend in the movie in Rookie of the Year.
Oh, so good.
Dude, I
Rookie of the
know,
Year,
dude.
so
You know,
good.
hold on, dude. I broke my arm in 7th grade. I legit rode around with the window down like this, just because I love that movie so fucking
Yeah.
much. Like, I don't know. It's another sports movie. Sports movies when you're a
Rowan
kid.
Gardner. What did you say?
Yeah, no,
He
like
called him his right name, and they're like, "What?"
what he say? That's what he says. So I'm rooting for the. There's so many different versions. I remember my neighbor telling me that she was at the game where they had to shoot the part where they chant for him, and
That's
she
hilarious.
had no idea what was going on. She was like, "Who is Henry, and why are we chanting for him?" I thought that's pretty hilarious.
Daniel Stern was in that movie. Butt Stallion says, and legendary Daniel Stern.
Daniel Stern
was
oh my
amazing.
god, right? So good, so as a kid, you're not quite prepared for that kind of performance. You're watching Eric; he's very visceral and intense, and he's always got chew in his.
Is that
fucking
Gary Busey in it?
He's also
Yes,
your
Gary
drunk
Busey.
uncle is in the movie. Yes, he is. Don't worry.
Yeah, the Rocket.
I'm like,
dude.
that is Gary Busey in it, right?
Dude, so many
Give
like,
him the big stinking limber.
dude, how many?
Oh,
I
God.
can't tell you how many little league games I was at where I'd be like, "Pitcher's got a big
Yeah.
butt."
Yeah, of course.
Like, there's just, I love that movie, and it's so ludicrous. The idea beyond ludicrous, but it's so cool, and it's like, like the ending was good because it was taught like we found out his mom played, and like I don't know, it was.
I think it's special
Is it
because
the
it's
old
the Cubs.
the old underhand. And it was Cubs.
just
It's-
floated.
I think
We're all-
that's the reason
three
why it stuck
Chicago
out to me
kids.
was because it was the Cubs, and like I
Love
didn't
the
even like
Cubbies.
baseball, and I still really don't. But like that
I'm gonna be
movie
honest.
sticks out. because of
Everyone
that.
loves the Cubs. They have one of the biggest fan bases because they are literally nationwide. I've lived in California, I've lived in Texas, and I live in the UK. I have seen Cubs shirts in every one of those places that I've lived. They are everywhere. It's here in the United Kingdom, southern coast
Amazing.
of England. Cubs shirts.
Amazing.
Bears hats. I was like, what the hell is happening? Of
That's
course,
awesome.
Michael Jordan and the Bulls. The Bulls are like the most marketable thing to come out of
Right.
Chicago, most likely. But
Right.
yeah, that
Yeah.
how did we not put that on this list? How did this?
I just remembered it
slip?
as we were talking about Mighty Ducks, and also shout out to the dude who plays the janitor in
I
Scrubs.
want you to
who's the
take that
first
back,
baseman.
Bud Stallion. You take that back immediately. You never compare anything to the fucking Green Bay Packers. Get it out of here.
I liked Bud Stallion for a while too, and now I'm not so sure.
We're not friends. Sorry, I interrupted Dan, but I have to. Anytime there's a Packers.
Nah,
Go
it's
on,
okay.
Dan.
I know. I
We're
was just saying the
just-
dude from
we're
Scrubs, the janitor from Scrubs was in it, and he was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they were doing that,
Rookie of the Year.
he did the most convincing sounding chicken. Anyway, I don't have
Yeah,
much
he
to
was-
say
he
about
was
these
a
movies.
fan.
Yeah,
He was.
Yeah.
he was
That's
a
okay,
fan.
dude. Just
Yeah,
impressions.
I just like I remember that movie. That was cool when that
Look,
happened.
there's
Like they were he shot the commercial with he was doing like kind of what that Ray Charles did when he was doing the Pepsi commercials. He did his own
yeah,
kind of version. It
yeah,
was like
yeah.
it was just a nice little chunk of time in there.
Daniel Stern
Yeah.
explaining how some people like to use heat, some people like to use ice. I got a new invention, hot ice.
Dude, when he's stuck in the door, dude, and they
Oh my
come
God.
out and he has to be like, oh, I'm like, is he gonna have pitching powers now too? What's
I was
happening?
dying.
Oh man,
I
oh,
was
he was so
dying.
funny,
I
dude.
love that
I love
movie.
Daniel Stern. I love that movie. I love Bushwhacked. I thought that was a fun movie with him
Yeah,
too.
Daniel Stern.
Okay.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
written and directed a bunch of stuff too that people don't realize. He's
probably
a
don't
very
even know.
talented man. Yeah, he's a very talented guy. Very smart too. Really smart guy actually, which is funny because he plays a lot of stupid people.
Yeah.
George, pick a movie.
Oh,
Or is it my turn? Whose turn is it?
your turn. I feel.
Oh, all right, fine. I'm gonna go with one of my favorites of all time that I watched, and I have a pact with my cousin. Anytime, not that I watch TV anymore, but anytime this was on TV and we were scrolling through it, we had to stop and watch this movie, and it was Ghostbusters. And I grew up watching these movies with some of the most iconic and phenomenal comedic actors of all time. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, the late Harold Ramis, and oh my God, Ernie Hudson, who was phenomenal in that movie. And I also went on to go see him in The Crow, which is another movie I watched as my childhood, but we're not going to talk about that because that's a fucking twisted movie. But I mean, Rick Moranis and Annie Potts, Sigourney Weaver, like this was just the cast was. This was it. Like this was the 80s in a nutshell right there. If you wanted anything funny, it was one of those guys that were in these movies. And it was for me, I love the story. I love the acting. I love the action, you know, for back in the day. A lot of it again was practical effects. There was still some special effects, but you know, that Stay Puft Marshmallow scene, like that was a little miniature walking around, you know, and when he's like crushing things and that kind of stuff. There was some CGI that they used in there, but like a lot of this was practical. And that's what I really appreciate about a lot of these movies is that they hold up practical effects when done right, hold up very, very well. Some practical effects really, really don't. Some do. And a lot of these are fantastic. And I will watch this all the time. You know, I mean, I saw the remake they did with 2016 with all the women. I enjoyed that because it's just nostalgia and fun. And I liked the third installment that they did. I liked the second one. Everyone hates the second one because it's like it's ridiculous and over the top, and you've got a giant, you know, the Statue of Liberty and like the slime, and I loved it. I had no problem with the second one. I think it was fun. In general, I loved watching all the cartoons growing up.
Yeah, I like the second one.
Again, you know, these are not things that are going to be up here like as like best picture nominations. A sequel to a Ghostbusters movie doesn't have to be legendary stuff. It just has to be fun. It has to be more Ghostbusters, and that's what it was. And delivered. You know, I mean, we could talk about the next two installments all day long, but I loved it. I watched the, like I said, Bill Murray's he lived in Wilmette, Illinois. You know, I mean, the guy was Evanston. He went to Evanston High School, and like he's been around all over the place. Is it Evanston?
No, he went to
New Trier.
He went to Loyola because he was
Oh,
1 year.
yeah.
He was 1 year younger than my dad. My dad didn't know him, but yeah.
And one of our friends, he was friends with his grandfather. Josh, who would love to remind us all the time that his granddad was friends with Bill Murray, which I thought was awesome. So I mean, you know, the guy loves to show up at random parties in Chicago and everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I again, movies I will watch to this day are all the ones I'm going to talk about. Vigo the Carpathian was creepy.
Yes,
he was creepy.
The painting.
Who's,
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
he was in the second one. He was
you
super
still
creepy.
see that painting randomly on the internet, like memes of it.
yeah.
People don't know what it is.
People
Like,
don't know
the
what it
younger
is. And
generation, they're like,
creeps
who's
them the
this like
fuck. freaks them
They
the
think
fuck
it's a
out.
person.
No, but the
Honestly,
thing is they see
whoever-
it and they recognize the painting, but they don't know where it's from, and then they get freaked out because they, for some reason, remember that painting but can't quite pinpoint it. Like,
Dude, whoever painted that painting did a phenomenal job of capturing what it was supposed to be, and oh my god, like it's.
I will say this: the big hate that a lot of people have is like it's as though they didn't really care about the first movie when they wrote the second one, because like Dana was a musician playing in like a fucking symphony and like was going into big things and doing stuff, and then suddenly she's touching up paintings. Like how that's
They
a
needed
pretty
a
big
connection.
shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of disconnects from the originals. I don't care. It was
Mm.
a fun movie. I'm there to watch the characters do their thing. Yeah. George, what's your movie? Did we lose George?
No, he's
we didn't.
thinking. There's a lot. There's too many. There's too many. Great movies
I
on
will
this
talk,
list.
since I'll stick with my theme. Another sports movie is The Sandlot. It's, I mean, another
use that for the
underdog.
background.
It's pretty much baseball. It's like a combination. It's Rookie of the Year meets Mighty Ducks. It's baseball with the Mighty. It's the underdogs. These kids who just love the sport for like the game, and like they don't even keep score. Like they just want to play. That's one of the best things about that movie is the fact that he's like, it didn't seem, he's like, when he watched, he's like, they didn't seem to be keeping score. They just kept playing, and it kept going on and on and on.
Yeah,
it's endless baseball game. And even as a person who doesn't enjoy baseball, like the idea of a game like that, there's something like special about that in a childhood way, just like for the love of playing and being with your friends, you know. And there's just so many childhood scenes like that in the movie that I feel like I can even relate to too. I know a lot of people don't like this holiday, but one of my favorite holidays is actually 4th of July, mainly because I used to love fireworks as a kid. And there's that scene in the Sandlot where they are playing fire, you know, during the fireworks. And like there's something special about that, you know, that summer feel, and like that to me was like the quintessential, like captured the summer feel of my childhood as well. And then like going to the pool and then having the hot like lifeguard, like everyone goes through those childhood moments and can relate to those kind of childhood moments, and to see how 100%. That goes. And one of my there's so many little things about it and so many lines that I quote, you know, even like s'mores, you know, how can I have s'mores if I didn't have it in the beginning, and you're killing me, Smalls. Like I still say that to people randomly, like you're killing me, Smalls. Like
Smalls.
I should have worn my Sandlot t-shirt today.
That's so much part of our lingo that we just say it and expect everybody to know what we're saying.
Exactly.
Like it's just like a saying that's as old as time, but it's from '94. You know, like
he married Wendy Peppercorn.
He ended up marrying Wendy Peppercorn.
9 kids.
Yeah, the ending, like the epilogue, is like one of the best parts.
It's like what? Okay.
Fun fact: when you see the ending where he grows up and it is. I don't remember his Jesse or what was it? The best player on the
Jesse
team. I don't
the
remember
Jet.
his name. Jesse the Jet. You see him grown up playing for the Dodgers, and like he looks a lot like Jesse would look like when he grows up. That's his older brother. Cool. The actor's older brother. I'm like, oh, that's fun. You know, that's like cool. They made it. Okay, yeah. So there's just a lot of those things. That movie, yeah. George has got it. You nailed it on the head. That was my childhood. I'd play baseball for a very long time. I lived at a pool I worked at the pool for a very long time. You're damn right, George.
And everyone has a scary like urban myths and scary like, you know, a scary neighbor and like, you know, like
we had a haunted house on our house.
Haunted house or like a scary dog or whatever. Like everyone goes through those things as a kid, and like, you know, these like you make up these like wild fantastical stories about that creepy house or that creepy neighbor or whatever it is. It's just everything about that movie is just like just quintessential American childhood kind of like, and that's
it is Americana. Like
it is. And even like the fact that he had like a stepdad with Dennis Leary and like all that, and the relationship that stems from that.
Right.
Like that was kind of special too.
God. Whoa.
And you know, that was kind of special too, because then you have to think about like the time, even in the early 90s, like divorce was starting to become very prevalent, and like it was just that kind of storyline started to, it was in a kids movie, and I feel like that was also kind of realistic in that sense and grounded it.
The dad was an implant in the family, and the kid was an implant in the baseball team.
I know. It was...
Um,
Oh man, and the stake to the face. Oh man, I had a friend, one of our friends. Every time we watched that movie, she'd be like, "Ew!" Like she hated.
Once
she hated raw meat. Yeah,
tries
he
to
like
catch the ball, it hits him in the eye, and then the dad
puts the
slaps
raw
a steak on his
the
face like he's dropped the swelling.
Because like you put like a cold thing. On
Man,
it.
it's been so long. I didn't see the movie as much as you guys
Oh,
because
so good.
I couldn't handle the puking scene.
Yes.
Oh no, that was the worst.
Oh,
That
I
and the one
literally-
from like Child's Play.
Never
those
wanted
two-
to try chew because of that movie.
I had a thing about puking and I couldn't make it through that scene. I was just like,
Although I did imitate that scene with Big League Chew a lot, just the gum because it's gum and like whatever. I'm cool playing baseball. And,
yeah.
All right, Dan. What's your movie, or is it half a movie?
No. Oh God. All right. I'm gonna speed through it. There's not much to say, man. Like the trash movies we talk about as a kid. But something I do like the Goonies. I wish I had more to say about it.
Me too. I didn't watch it as a kid.
We'll probably talk about it at some point. All those actors growing up.
Hi, Red. Hi, everyone.
I don't even want to. I'm actually going to talk about something else, but I will just give a small shout out to this super terrible movie called Cop and a Half.
I've never seen this movie before.
There's a reason for that. It's probably the worst movie on this list, which is saying something.
Never heard of it.
It's this kid that wants to be a cop, and he's running around, and he's literally like trying to solve shit. And this like detective played by Burt Reynolds has to like basically keep up with this kid and ends up babysitting him. And he says like
Burt Reynolds is in this movie?
Yeah, dude. And like
it's bad, man. It's really bad.
It's really bad. And he tries to like he hears him say stuff like, I hate to run, I don't want to have to run. And so the kid's like chasing people like, stop, I hate to run, just because he's like trying to be like him. It's so bad, dude. I don't even want to, there's not much else to say. It's full of quotes. Like he's at a bar and he's like around a bunch of tough bikers, and he's like, what's your name? He's like, I didn't catch your name. The guy's like, I didn't throw it. And he shows him a tattoo of his name that says Steve on the arm. He's like, okay, give me a milk, Steve. And everyone's like staring at him, and he's like, in a dirty glass. And I'm just like, I loved it as a kid so bad in hindsight, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about.
Too late, you talked about it.
Hello. I want to talk about Mrs. Doubtfire and
that
how
hurt my ears.
Good. I watched that movie probably somewhere in like 10 times in a row when I was like visiting my dad while he was working, and I never got tired of it. It was a run by fruiting. I just love Robin Williams and seeing him get to do his thing, basically, play like a weird different version of himself, like being the fun dad and like getting in trouble for it, and like he still does voices and he finds a way to connect with his kids, however sociopathic it may be. That movie is so rewatchable and so funny, and I just, as a kid, I remember eventually when I would rewatch it, I would fast forward to this scene where he has to go back and forth, being himself and being Mrs. Doubtfire, like trying to talk to the two different people. And again, he gets all drunk and he switches it up. But I was all stressed out as a kid. It was fun.
Me too.
But I love that movie. I just love Robin Williams. It's really
so good.
Robin Williams, Sally Field, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Pretty big cast.
The kids did a great job too.
Yeah, they did. They did a great job.
Oh, the little girl. I'll touch it. The girl. Matilda. That's what I was going to say. Matilda, which is we're not going to go too into it. It's one on our huge list, but it's not like a big one. But Matilda, she's in Matilda, which is a great kids movie as well.
Love Matilda as well.
Yeah. Love Matilda.
Harvey Fierstein.
So good.
The guy's got that really deep voice and talks all weird. And
yes.
And even like a lot of it, like even like the little scene where he's doing the dinosaur stuff is like really fun too. Like,
so good.
It's just
everything.
Imagine playing toys with Robin Williams.
Like the opening, I don't know if it's the opening, but it's one of the early scenes where he's doing a recording as the voice actor, right? And he's playing like the bunny, no, the bird, and the bird starts smoking. So Robin's like and starts like coughing and like being really ridiculous and weird, and you just hear the guy lean and go, stick to the script, and you're just like, come on. Like he's like why would a bird be smoking? He's gonna get learned. It's just classic Robin.
There's,
Like the
there's
whole
something hilarious about a director telling Robin Williams to stick to the script. Like, good fucking luck, buddy.
yeah.
Oh, man, it's so
man.
good.
It's classic.
Lisa.
Okay, we are running out of time.
What?
We are. So I'm gonna run through a couple of these that I just want to mention. That were amazing, and I think we all really enjoyed. But Home Alone is on this list. Something we all really watched.
Man, Home Alone.
Again, filmed in our town. We all grew up around this area, that area. Like the church that he runs to was the church I went to as a kid in as for Boy Scouts, and then like the house that they live in is in
Daniel Stern.
Winnetka. Yeah, the house they live in is in Winnetka. I delivered pizza to that house. You've delivered pizza to that house.
I have as well.
Yeah, for like when we worked there and everything. So that one is a classic. And the Santa Claus, something I think we all watched when we were a kid with Tim Allen. One of the best Santa Claus movies, I feel, for me as a kid at least.
I watched all of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen them all.
Shorts in that last one.
I'm gonna watch they're coming out with a TV show, and I'm gonna watch it. Like, I'm gonna do that.
Back to the Future. Oh my god.
Back to the Future, Goonies, Labyrinth, Neverending Story, Little Giants. Like, these are all amazing movies. Goonies, like we've mentioned Goonies, and it's an amazing
I didn't watch it as a kid, but it is a good movie.
I watched it as a kid, and not as much as I've watched it as an adult. I've saw it many times as a kid, but as an adult, I watched it far more times. I feel like I can skip over the two I wanted to bring up. Was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was like for me an amazing blend between animation and live action, and I loved it. It was fun and crazy. And then the Power Rangers movie is something I watched. I grew up on Power Rangers. Those were
watched that a bunch.
Amazing movies. I mean, Three Ninjas, Hocus Pocus, E.T., you know, Kindergarten Cop. Like, these are all amazing.
Bring a toy back to the carpet. Bring a toy back to the carpet.
Who's your daddy? There's so many Arnold quotes from that movie.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor.
It's not a
Did you know that when they were filming that,
my daddy's a gynecologist.
They had a hard time scripting
I was
kids.
like, what is that job and what does he do? What? As a kid, I was like, what is that job?
Did you know that when they were filming this, they didn't like it was scripting a kid is really hard to like get them to learn their lines. And so as he was starting to get to like hang out with the kids in the classroom and get to know them, they were just kind of rolling. So some of that was just him getting to know the kids.
Amazing.
And like the whole who is your daddy and what does he do, they didn't tell the kids what to say. They actually started talking about who their dad was and what he does. So like, my daddy's a gynecologist. That was that kid's dad. Like,
that's hilarious.
Absolutely ridiculous. So a lot of it, like I just watched something about it. Like Arnold was talking about it. He's like, that's one of my favorite movies I've ever done. And he's like, he did it because everyone told him you don't work with kids and you don't make, you know, like kids movies and like in comedy. You're not a comedic actor and you shouldn't work with kids as a career. And he's like, because you said I can't, I'm going to prove to you that I can. And it worked. I mean, there's not a ton of these movies, you know. I mean, Schwarzenegger had one and it was terrible. Do anybody remember that? He did like a shoot. No, he did a comedy. It was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Did anybody here remember that?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Stallone, right?
I didn't see it, but I saw the cover. And
do you know why he did that movie?
Because of Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, because like Schwarzenegger called or like someone he sent out like to get to Stallone that Schwarzenegger was going to do it. And so Stallone's like, well, if he's going to do it, I'll do it instead. But Schwarzenegger had no intention of doing it whatsoever. So he just sort of punked him into doing it. And it was a horrible movie. There's a lot of these movies that we want to talk about. That I want to talk about a lot of, but we have limited time for these people, for you people, for everyone that we love. So we are going to talk about one more movie, and it is quite possibly one of the best movies on this list.
Can I say one real quick that we skipped?
Please throw a little out.
Real quick. Also, Newsies, which is like a Disney musical.
Right.
with
I did watch that.
with
We
what's his
watched that
name?
a lot.
Christian Bale's in it. It's like one of Christian Bale's first films. You know, Christian Bale is like somebody who, if you didn't know, who had a lot of influence as a kid by Steven Spielberg. He's one of those kids that Steven Spielberg actually kind of groomed and ushered into like a legit actor. Steven Spielberg like put this guy in a bunch of his films earlier on, so like
Yeah.
And then helped him like pretty much land this job, I think. Also, so
I
Newsies.
wasn't the guy from House in that too?
I don't know. Newsies?
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie.
No. The other guy from House, who's like his best friend,
Mm.
quote unquote. I
Oh,
think he's
I
in
don't
that
remember.
movie.
Wilson. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yes, maybe.
Yeah, I think he is.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, Newsies, good film.
But-
Sorry, that's it.
Who wants to roll in the coup de grace, the top of the crop,
Number
the-
one
the-
on our list.
the number one on all of our
Who
lists?
can guess what movie have we not talked about? Anybody? Any guesses?
It's number one. No? Anyone? No. Okay, no one's.
I feel
listening.
like I need to go
Um,
get my shirt for it. Oh, it's too late. All right.
Hook, with again the late great Robin Williams. So Butts-Selling guy. Robin Williams. Jesus Christ. Isn't that Maggie Smith is the mom?
Yeah,
Or
The grandma.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
it's
the
Wendy.
grandma,
Yep,
excuse me.
dude, Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin
I-
Hoffman,
dis-
thank you.
disappearing into this
Dustin
almost
Hoffman.
cartoonish. What a genius performance! No one else could have done that.
Yeah,
Not a single
Dustin
person
Hoffman.
on this earth could have been this like kid version, but also
Phil
ruthless,
Collins.
like Phil Collins.
Phil Collins is
Bob
in it.
Hoskins. Bob Hoskins is in it.
Bob Hoskins, dude.
Glenn Close is in it.
What about me?
Glenn Close is in it with an amazing cameo. I didn't even know that was Glenn Close until years later.
Right. She's the dude who's like the boombox.
The
No,
boombox.
no, I couldn't believe
Could not
that.
believe that was Glenn Close.
I probably went back and watched that scene 3 times to like realize
Holy
that
shit, that is Phil
she was.
Collins.
It was a dude with a beard. Like I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Like, who
no,
was
that
Phil
was
Collins?
Inspector Good.
Yeah, he's the cop.
Okay,
It was
okay.
it was so random.
Random, dude.
So
yeah,
random.
but Glenn Close. What? Like blown away by that little fun fact when I found that out. Not that long ago. I feel like
Oh.
5 years ago.
Julia Roberts
Of course.
as Tinkerbell.
This Julia
Oh,
man, Hook,
right.
let me tell you, Julia Roberts. Oh, that's a whole nother thing that we don't want to dive into. But
Fun fact about Julia Roberts behind the scenes: she was such a pain in the ass to work with. They called her Tinkerhell on
Did
set.
they really?
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently she
Yeah.
was terrible on this movie.
She was fresh off her like Pretty Woman success, and I feel like she was getting a little up on the high horse. I think she is not quite at that level anymore, thankfully. But yeah,
She's good, so it's,
Mhm.
I get it.
She's
she
great
was
in
good.
this.
She was good. Yeah, she was good in both roles.
But the reimagining of something that has been beaten to death, Peter Pan. Like there's this one story that says a tale as old as time. You know, it's just it's over and over and over and over shoved down our throats. And this to make him actually grow up and then move on and have a family and like it's such a different concept. There really aren't that many movies like this. A lot of things have tried to be Hook, where they take the original characters and bring them into a different medium and reimagine them. But this, no one could do this
Dude,
except
just
Robin Williams.
imagine the
Nobody.
pitch that somebody had for this movie. You see a guy come in like, all right, Peter Pan is older. He's gonna go get his kids back from Neverland. Dude, like, no, pass. Like, that sounds terrible. But it was incredible.
But
Imagine having to be
Granted.
the person who told somebody who like who wrote the check that we're gonna put Robin Williams in tights. Like when that bill came and you had whoever wrote that check and he was like looking
But-
down the item list and he was like, "What?
He could
We're
fly.
paying him to like
He
get in
could
tights?"
fight. He could. He
Of
was
course.
so good, dude.
I mean,
think about this though. But if it was Steven Spielberg who came up to you and said this like Goonies produced Back to the
Yeah.
Future. He's already done Jaws, and he's done Indiana Jones, and like all
Yeah, of
these
course.
movies up to this point. And he's like,
E.T..
I want to do Peter Pan, and you're like, yeah,
Oh,
okay, yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
here you
right.
go.
Oh,
Fine.
that's another
Yes,
kids
I don't
film we didn't
care.
talk about is E.T., but there we go.
Mhm.
Also phenomenal. I have that on VHS.
Watched it a bunch.
We will talk about
To
at some
infinity.
point. I want to talk about, not now, but at some point I want to talk about like all this shit that they did special editions to the Star Wars and the ETs and all this stupid
I
shit.
don't want to talk about them.
They
Why don't we not talk
changed
about
all
that?
I'm just gonna say this then. They changed all of like the scene in ET when they're all flying over the cop cars and the bikes. They all were like pointing guns and shotguns at the kids, and they're like, no, we can't do that anymore. So they changed it all to like flashlights. I'm like, it's a fucking 80s kids movie, man. Like, leave it as it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, no, this movie, I mean, it's
I
universally
still sing the
loved in our
music
friend
from it
group.
like randomly all the
So
time.
many
I'll be
quotes.
humming it. So many great lines, one-liners.
So many
Like, what about
quotes.
Smee? And then like all this.
Kill the lawyer.
And all
Dude,
this-
it's
Good
endless.
I still sometimes will be like, good morning. In Discord, sometimes when I say hello to people in the morning, I'll be like, good morning, Neverland.
Dude, me and my sister have a tradition. If we're around each other, and the first time it snows and we're together, we like we'll bust in each other's rooms. Whoever's up first, and we'll go, "It's snowing!" and slam the door
Yeah.
every time.
It's snowing.
Fucking love
Don-
it.
Toodles,
Dante
I've lost my
Brasco.
marbles.
Right.
I've lost my mop.
Lost.
Toodles like the little hit, the gem of that movie. Dude,
Just-
yeah, dude. Toodles made that scene. Not gonna lie.
I mean, the whole movie as a
There you
whole
are,
is
Peter.
heartfelt. The production value was there. Neverland and the Lost Boys Island is phenomenal. The pirate ship
Phenomenal.
that Hook is
Phenomenal.
on is gorgeous. Like,
Oh,
The
cool.
costumes.
like it make this into like a ride somewhere. You know what I mean?
The
Like Pirates of the
costumes.
Caribbean is classic. You know, at Disney, that's a classic ride and all that stuff, and it's cool looking. I've only done one of them, but like, just rebuild the ship from Hook and just let people walk around it. Like, it's fucking cool, man. Like the
It's-
extravagance. He's got that little the red carpet that comes out down the stairs that doesn't work, and Bob Hoskins is like kick the ground and then like and all the red carpets. I just remember that, like, that's just a cool innovation in the ship. Everything about this.
You forgot about the carpet, Shmee. The carpet.
Yeah. I can't go on, Shmee. This time I mean it. I'm gonna kill
And like
myself, Shmee.
sometimes when I
Don't try
work
to stop me.
out,
Don't try to stop me, Shmee.
So good.
Shmee,
sometimes
try
I
to stop me.
work out, I
Shmee.
chant that chant like when I work out. Ain't no time to celebrate. Ain't no time
Bob
to celebrate.
Hoskins.
You are holding
Bob
on
Hoskins
away.
can do anything.
I
wanna say that.
Gotta lose a
What about
million
Shmee?
pounds.
Bob Hoskins is one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. He was a British actor, and he's done everything. I mean, he did Shmee. He was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh man, there was this like cop movie he was in, and I watched it when I was younger, and it was fantastic. You know, he was fucking Mario. You know, like he was in one of the worst.
Mario.
Another
He
kid's
was in one
movie.
of the worst movies ever.
One of the was John
with-
Leguizamo's though. Oh god.
I watched way too many
First name
times.
Luigi, last name Mario.
So it's Luigi Mario and Mario Mario.
Mario.
Because they're the Mario brothers, and you're like, wait, that would imply their last name is Mario. I do like that part because they really, they were like, they didn't think through that name because it's. I thought that was funny.
Mario. Last name Mario. Oh my god, dude. You know, I remember as a kid, there was a little bit of a teaser of what would be Dan the Critic in a future life when the crocodile ate him. And I was like asking my mom and dad, like all these questions, like, wait, what was the alligator still alive? Wait, did it eat him? Why did it burp? And they're just like, why, Dan, I don't know. And and as an adult today, in hindsight, kids movie. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? You gotta vanquish Hook, but you can't like have a death per se.
No.
So it's as good as we're gonna get for that kind of kids movie. And
Hook's
to say I'd
gone.
have since this, Hook's just gone. You hear the alligator burp. I'm just like, what the fuck? Anyway, but as now an adult, I'm like, you know what? This is the way he had to go. And finally, it was kind of poetic.
Did you guys ever see a movie called Toy Soldiers?
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, with like the action figures that come to life, with like the AI
It
that
was
gets
great.
put into it. Yeah, it's
Great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so many more movies we want to talk about, obviously, that could go on this list. But maybe for another time we can revisit this down the line
We may
because
have to.
this is just so much fun to do. In
Yeah.
fact, watch GJC327 stream. If you see us all on there together, we'll
We
probably
talk
be
about it all
talking
the
at
time.
some point about this kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a behind the scenes or an after the show or whatever you want to
It was
call
like
it.
Blank Check. We
Yeah,
didn't talk about Rocketeer.
a Christmas Story, like
Blank
with
check.
Peter Billings.
Oh,
Blank
Christmas
Check.
Story.
Don't tell mom the
Just
babysitter's
classic.
dad.
I mean, Short Circuit, Gremlins,
Short Circuit.
Beetlejuice,
Oh,
like
Beetlejuice.
so good. Short Circuit.
so many good
Johnny
ones.
5 is
Um,
alive.
if you've loved our list and want more, let us know. We will talk to you in the comments. We will always welcome more stuff. So again, if you want more
Write
of this,
down your
watch
favorite down below in
Barry
the comments.
Gordy's The Last Dragon. Oh my god, that movie is crazy.
Last Dragon.
I don't think
think
It's
I've
I
seen
saw
about like a martial artist guy who like oh man, who is not like supposed to be like, nobody expects this guy to be the greatest martial artist, and you've got like the most like over the top villain. Like it's almost on borderline like remember like blaxploitation films and that kind of stuff. Like the villain kind of comes out of that type of, like it's just this over the top giant ego, and like, oh, it's so ridiculous.
Brink.
Bruce Leroy.
Brink
I remember
rollerblading
watching that.
movie. I
Brink.
used to love Brink.
I loved that movie so much. I watched it when I got older. It is so bad.
Terrible.
So bad. But I loved rollerblading. Like
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too,
yeah,
so I
finally a
love
movie for
it.
me because I'm not a skater, but I like blading and I'm cool.
too.
No, I was not cool. I messed up my knee when I rollerbladed. Like and follow everybody. Please subscribe to the channels. Go ahead and follow all of our social media. You should be seeing more from us on there. The Modern Nerd at everything, nerd_modern at Twitter. GJC327 on his Twitch, YouTube. Check out his YouTube if you want fun tutorials. If you want to see some old stuff on how to play some Hearthstone, check out some of his old Marbles videos. They were a lot of fun. We love all of you for being around and listening and following and being a part of the family. And me probably being the newest part of this family. You guys all know each other, and I'm just sort of here. So thank you very much. We have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.